published. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Hanging Around the Hangar 88. Today we are joined by special guest Josh Yarbro. How's it going, Josh?
It's good. How about you?
Doing fantastic. It's kind of funny. We're pretending like we weren't just talking for the last 5 minutes in the studio.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. We just got to roll right into it.
Sorry about that. I'm still getting this whole studio setup thing figured out. I'm watching us on one screen, making sure I don't look like a fool, and watching you on the main screen. So, hey, before we go any further tonight, this show, episode number 2 with Josh Yarbro, is brought to us by A&E Products, A&E Products. Bruce Carr down in Waxahachie, Texas. He will keep you flying. He's going to be supporting your RC hobby addiction. Bruce should be joining us sometime here during the show. Last show, he stepped in and offered a pretty awesome deal online for you guys that are watching. I think we have some cool stuff coming up with that as well. I know he was traveling on his way home from work, I believe. So A&E Products, guys, look them up, find them. Bruce is also a Free Sky dealer, has all the Free Sky products that you could ever want. Again, if I mentioned this in the last show, if you show up to his website and you don't necessarily see the product, go ahead and email him. Bruce has access to every product that Free Sky makes. Bruce is a big time on the road mobile hobby shop, traveling through all the big shows down through Texas, Southeast, and all the way up to Joe Knoll. So his online presence is getting there. Great website. But again, if you do find something that you don't, or if you don't find something that you're looking for, go ahead and email him. Bruce is a very personable guy. So thanks, A&E Products, for sponsoring Hanging Around Hangar 88. And then obviously tonight we will be discussing a lot of angles and just different topics with Free Sky ethos and everything that's coming out. It's been out. I think 1.5 is a big topic right now, but without further ado, let's get over to Josh. So, Josh, who are you, man? How are you here?
Yeah.
How are you here with us today?
Yeah. So, well, it's been a journey. I guess November of 2022, I started to look into different radios because I decided that I needed to be able to hear telemetry flying turbines. That was huge for me. Futaba didn't offer that. And I looked around. I looked at everything. I looked at Spectrum. I looked at buying a 32MZ. And my uncle told me, check out Free Sky. And here I am 2 years later. I've owned 3 X20s. I've had a blue X20S, a red X20S, which I still own, and now an X20 Pro that I'm getting used to. I've flown everything from indoor foamies with RX6R receivers that I flash to access, to turbines, to 100cc, 70cc with auras in them from Flex Innovations. And yeah, I'm just along on the journey, just like everybody else is, learning it day by day and trying to stay active with it. So
now you mentioned that you were looking for a new transmitter at one time. Can you tell us, I mean, the format's pretty loose, man. That's kind of, I think, the direction I want to take this in. But at the same time, guys, we're not here to discuss the shortcomings of every other brand out there, right? We are Free Sky users, but there are other radios out there that are good. They're great radios in their own respects. But before you jumped over to Free Sky, what radios have you used before?
I've used Spectrum. I've used Futaba, Airtronics. Let's see, what else have I ran? yeah, I think it was. I started with Airtronics, then went to Futaba. Yeah, so I had an Airtronics RD6000 back in the 72 days. This is a long time ago. Then went over to a Futaba 8U Super, which was an awesome radio. Uh, Phenomenal. Actually bought a Spectrum 2.4 DSM module for that radio. Flew Spectrum on a Futaba for a long time. This was like when 2.4 first came out. Then flew a Spectrum. Let's see, I'd had a DX7, a DX7S, a DX8 Gen 2. And around the time the DX8 Gen 2 was really hitting big, I decided that I needed something more, right? And the IX12 was coming out. Well, they were like, if you love the DX9, you're going to love the IX12. I don't like the DX9 case. That's just my personal preference, feel. It's a great radio. Just don't like the way it feels in my hands. So then I bought a Futaba 16SZ. Love that radio. It's great. Flew with it for several years. Then I have buddies of mine that are Futaba pilots, and I tried their 18SZ. Well, I immediately sold my 16SZ and bought an 18SZ. And then I've flown it for the last 4 or 5 years. And then got into turbines. And as we all know, turbines make a lot of noise. And I could not hear my timer, even with headphones in, which I have headphones in right now because I don't know if I'm hard of hearing or if the wife just tells me I have selective hearing. I don't know. But yeah, so I couldn't hear it. So started looking around. Looked at IX20, looked at a DS24 from Jetty. Then, like I said, my uncle got me on with Free Sky. Talked with Steve. He called me on a Sunday at noon. Talked with me for 2.5 hours while I was working on a friend of mine's airplane. And yeah, been hooked ever since. So I've flown just about everything that's out there. Including Mikado V control for helicopters. So,
Wow, that's a distinguished list right there of radio transmitters. I mean, quite a bit. So, have you ever at any point? I know we kind of talked about this earlier. You said you've been using FreeSky for roughly 2 years now, coming up on 2 years.
Yep.
How would you compare your experience currently to any other transmitter that you've used in the past?
Oh,
we're being real here, dog. This is
yeah. So, I mean, brutal honesty. There's things I like about it and things I don't like about it. The things I don't like is that it's smarter than I am. That's huge. I mean, that radio does more than I can ever need it to do. Like to keep it simple. So it's, keep it simple, stupid kind of thing for that. The link is great, seamless. I actually have a really good friend of mine here in town that switched over, and he loved his Futaba 18SZ, and then he flew with that, and he said, I feel more connected to the airplane, which I can see that. The gimbal throw is substantial on a FreeSky transmitter, so it's more than what he's used to. So, like I like to call it his built-in expo. I've never been an expo guy. Don't really like using a lot of it, but as I'm getting older, I'm learning to use it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, there's things that I like and little things that I don't like. But overall, the experience has been pleasant, surprisingly easy to program, I should say, for if you want to learn it, right? Obviously, if you don't want to learn the transmitter, it's going to be very hard. But yeah, I didn't really have any mentors, so coming into it, it was just I was an open book and very open to the concept of learning it. And yeah, I've learned what I need to know with it for the most part, but there's still more that I'm going to learn. Right. So, but yeah, it's a great transmitter for me. I mean, like I said, I'm flying everything from indoor foamies to turbines with it. So It's been great.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of people jump on board just in this last year as well. And I think you made a good point. I kind of preface conversations with people that approach me and that are thinking about, making the swap to Free Sky from their current systems. And that's what I tell them, like, there's a learning curve. I mean, that's always kind of been the mantra of Free Sky. I mean, 6, 8, 9 years ago, um, I couldn't get people to even consider the radio because of the learning curve of OpenTX.
Yeah.
Now, come Ethos, which is very reminiscent of OpenTX, it has made it, 100 times better as far as ease of use, right?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, you've seen that, but you seem pretty well versed with every other transmitter that you've used. So, but the point being is that there is a learning curve still, as there is with anything new. I use the cell phone analogy a lot, but you have to put an effort. Man, I think I actually made that comment on a post this morning on the Ethos group where um, you put a little effort into it, and that radio will pay itself out.
Oh yeah.
It's a very
100%.
system. So, real quick, Bruce just jumped online a little bit ago. Matter of fact, when we were talking about him earlier, and he has set up, I'm going to throw this on the screen here real quick. Good old Bruce. Let's do it again, guys. You can save 10% on Free Sky orders of $25 or more with coupon code Hangar88. So if you need that Free Sky gear, jump on there. Get your
Yeah,
stuff.
I almost called Bruce a while ago. I'm looking for some cables for Smooth Flight. Now that he's carrying advanced radio stuff, I need to get a hold of him, see if he's got them, so I can get them ordered.
Talk to him. I think he's listening right now. Bruce, he needs some cables, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
get this.
receiver cables. It's a receiver to JR plug cables. So
There you go. I'm putting together a banner here so we can get it minimized a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better. Yeah, man, I'm still working my
perfect.
way around this studio and stuff. So, the reason that that I've had you on the show, or I'm having you on the show tonight, is because it has been said that you are an avid Flex Innovation user. Can
Yeah,
you tell us a little
yeah,
bit more about that? Give
yeah.
us a
I
little
would.
on that.
Yeah. So 13 of their airplanes later over the last 3 years, I should say, maybe 4 years. It's hard to tell. It's all a blur now. But yeah, I've got most of their 60 size stuff. Mamba 120 FlexJet Pro with a turbine in it, which was a conversion. It was a 90 millimeter EDF to turbine conversion. I actually flew it Sunday. Then I've got the foam FlexJet, Mamba 60, Cessna 170, Piranha. Yeah, I've flown just about everything in their fleet, minus the F-16 and the Edge. Love their product. It's great. In fact, a lot of people talk about the RV-8. The RV-870 is probably my favorite airplane that they make. Just to preface that, I put one in the ground in 9 flights over a stupid mistake that was my fault. So yeah, for those listening, don't let fuel line get too close to headers. They don't like that. Yeah, so I stuffed it. It wasn't that bad. It's totally repairable. Actually, it's fixed right now. I gave that airplane to a very good friend of mine in Odessa, Wayne Wagner. Kind of as a surprise. He does a lot for the community. So I just was like, hey, I need it out of the shop. Here you go. Here's your RV-870.
Nice.
And I think I'll see it made in a week and a half, I believe. Then I bought another one. So I've had 2 of them now. But people ask me all the time, I need a trainer. I need a trainer. The RV-810, RV-860. Yeah, I mean, hands down, probably the best trainer out there, in my opinion. I'm an old school guy, so I don't think unassisted training is the best thing out there, right? I think it teaches bad habits.
Sure.
So the RV8 itself is very stable, but it can go from mild to wild whenever you want. If you want to fly around in the pattern, do figure eights all day, flaps down all day. Do you want to cut loose and go up and do a full throttle blender all day? Yeah, it's all around airplane. Great.
Yeah, we had
and I don't think that the RV8 10's that bad. So
no, it's a very awesome airframe. I think we were discussing a private meeting we had at a local field here a while back in December. One of the guys had the RV8 out there, and that was the day I met Juan Sanchez, who is Free Sky's team pilot.
Yep.
He's out of Northern California. He made the trek down here to meet up with these guys as well. And I am not a 3D pilot. I'm actually more of a builder. So we're just gonna leave it at that. But anyhow, I got to put my thumbs on those sticks with that RV8, and it's such an awesome plane. I was the pattern flyer figure eight dude. When Juan Sanchez jumped on that plane, he put it into just crazy train mode, man, and did some stuff with that plane that I'm sure you've done as well, because you're a pretty accomplished 3D pilot yourself.
Yeah, so, I'd like to think I am, but sometimes it gets the better.
Well, if you ain't crashing, you ain't learning, right?
Yeah, exactly. But, like I tell everybody, there's like, oh, you can fly 3D. Can you do those rolls really fast in a straight line? I was like, no, I'm old school 3D. I can float around low and slow. That's what I do. So,
can you tell us a little bit about the integration between the two systems? I myself, the only experience I've ever had with Flex Innovation was an Aura 8 back in, oh God, I don't know, a couple of years back, maybe 3 years ago or whatever. It was just way above my head. Could never really figure it out, and ended up kind of screwing up an airframe. I think not because of the Aura 8, but because of the lack of knowledge in programming it. But I know there are some Flex Innovation users out there that are Free Sky users too. I mean, can you talk to us a little bit about, like I said, how those two systems mesh together and how have you found success with it?
Oh yeah. So all of my Flex airplanes have Auras in them, whether they're Aura Pros or regular Aura 8s. And actually the first time, we just start at the beginning here of how I learned with the Aura, with Free Sky. So the first airplane I put on Free Sky with an Aura in it was a RV860. Decided, yep, I know that airplane. I'm putting it in there. So I bought a TDR6 receiver. Okay. It's got a plug on top. So you've got to make it S-Bus and all of that. There's other ways of doing it now, but that's how I did it at the time. Was threw a TDR6 in there, made my little plug up, ordered the kit on Amazon, slapped it together, right? So then I found out, oh, wow, I don't have to change anything. Everything automatically works, right? Well, got everything working, took it to the field, took off, and instantly knew that something was wrong. Somehow, in my mind, I didn't think to flip the kill switch for the Aura, right? But I got the airplane all the way around the field and back on the ground with the elevator reversed, correction-wise. I pulled up on it and it went up, but it also went right back down really hard. So immediately I realized there was something fishy with Free Sky and the Aura. Some of the other Free Sky guys that fly Flex know this as well. The Aura itself does not like you to reverse anything in the transmitter. It does not like sub-trim in the transmitter. That goes for any flight stabilization system. The reason being is because it has its own algorithms inside that it wants to follow. But if there's outside bits of code that are saying, hey, I'm not seeing a full 120, 120 from the transmitter because it's got sub trim in it. It doesn't know what to do. So we just sit there and we think, well, we can't reverse it in the transmitter. What do we do? Well, played with it in the Aura, played with it some more, couldn't get it figured out. Finally, I just said to heck with it, and I reversed it in the transmitter. And voila, we had a winner. The Aura doesn't know that you reversed it, that I can tell. And like I said, it's in a Mamba 120 right now. It's in a FlexJet Pro with a turbine right now. It doesn't care. So it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of learning. Cool feature that I did find out is you've got PPM center and a FreeSky transmitter. You can use that to trim your servos without losing your endpoints, right? Because everybody knows that if you sub-trim a whole bunch in one direction, you're going to lose the travel in that direction.
Correct.
So, yeah. So I found that out, that the Aura doesn't care about PPM center either. Once I figured those out, the Aura works just as it did with Futaba. In fact, when you power it up for the first time and you have a registered and bound TD receiver, access receiver, whatever, it's going to see it. And your controls are probably going to work. Because it for some reason recognizes it like Futaba. It's basically just the channel mapping is the same. So I've had guys leave it with Futaba. Works fine. I always like to tell people to switch it to FreeSky Futaba standard. That's just an OCD thing of mine. I'm highly OCD about that. So other than that, it works great. And I've flown it on, let's see, I'm a huge tandem guy, so I use mostly TD receivers. Let's see. Yeah, so most of my foam flex stuff has TDMXs in it. Whether it's the old TDMX, which is solderable, which I prefer, honestly, because I can solder it faster than I can de-pin that plug. And I have a couple that have a plug in them. So it works great with both. You don't need, by all means, if you want to put a secondary receiver in there, you can do it. But you're going to have a pro because it only sees the one signal. Now, as far as the big gas planes go, if it's 70cc or the 100cc, I run a dual TDR10 setup, which is going to sound kind of crazy to most, but that's what I run. Mainly because I like both of my receivers side by side. It's an OCD thing. I don't like satellite receivers. I don't want to put a TDMX somewhere in the airplane. I just want my receivers sitting there, just nice and clean and neat. But what I do is I'll set one receiver for channels 1 through 10, the other receiver 11 through 20, right? And then I'll S-bus the last two channels or the last channel on each receiver into the Aura Pro. And so far it's worked great. No issues with it. I actually saw a guy comment today about, or was talking today in a jet forum about Savox servos and 900. I've been doing it for years. No problems. You just got to keep that 900 away from servo extensions and servos. But yeah, the Aura plays very well with FreeSky. I mean, very well with it. And I've tested redundancy numerous times with numerous airplanes. A friend of mine and I are actually building the identical turbines. Both of them are 2-meter Viper jets. They're going to be 26, 27 pounds probably. And we're running 2 TDR10 receivers in those into a smooth flight. So we're learning that as we speak. But the setup's the same from what I can tell. It seems to be the same setup and same channel mapping and everything. It just works. That's the big thing. So
yeah. Well, that's cool, man. I mean, I think the biggest hurdle people have is really honestly trying to figure out that Aura. But the connections, like you said, they're pretty much the same for any other stabilizer or flight controller that's running S bus. Um, for the longest time, I'd been running smooth flights in some of my bigger aircraft, and it wasn't until just this late last year that I ripped both of those out, sold them, and bought some of the RB units. But
Hmm.
um, no, that's really cool. So do you know, or have you experienced any advantages to running the Free Sky system paired up with the Flex Innovation systems? Or like anything that you've come across that maybe another company hasn't been able to achieve? Or is
No,
it just
not really.
yeah, just pretty
It's
streamlined?
Yeah, it's all the same. Whether you look at it in Spectrum, Futaba, Free Sky, Jetty, it's all the same. Um, you know, getting it to talk to each other is different, but it's the same, right? If you buy an Aura, if you buy a plane from Flex, it's got an Aura in it. Um, I recommend deleting the program out of it, starting fresh with a new program meant for that airplane, which they have them there. Um, and then, yeah, just set it up and go fly. The biggest thing that I've told people is quick checks, quick check, quick check, quick check. Um, the reason being is because it'll save things like what I had happen on my first Aura flight with Free Sky. It's going to show you that, hey, dummy, your elevator's reversed. So, um, I helped a guy over the phone. God, it's been, yeah, probably last month, I think it was, from California. Sorry, I don't remember his name right off the top of my head. I think it was Roger, I think, but can't remember. And yeah, he didn't know that there was a quick check function. He kept asking me, well, what is that? And I told him, and I said, well, it takes your control surfaces and exaggerates them when you move the airplane. So you put the nose down, that elevator should go up, and it just exaggerates it to where you can see it. Um, yeah, I actually I saw an RV8 go in, an RV870 go in on its maiden flight because of that. So, well, I didn't see it. I saw the video of it, but
Because of a
um,
failure of doing the proper check?
yes, yeah. So I'm trying to remember what was reversed. I want to say it was elevator was reversed, but
Right.
he fought it. I mean, he fought it all the way back to the runway, and it rolled over on him right at the runway, snapped the fuse in half.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, the airplane is still flying today. He put it back together, and you can't even tell that it was ever broken half. So,
Those are
yeah,
my people. The builders. Builders are my
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Partly
He was the
having
guy that he was. Yeah, he was the guy that put my RV870 back together for Wayne because him and I were in it, and I told him I was like, if I give him this airframe, you're rebuilding it. And he goes, done. I said, okay, let's go on home with him. So, yeah,
nice. Nice. So have you had any experience? Have you messed around with the free sky stabilization?
I have not. Um, I still have that 12 channel receiver sitting out there. Um,
Right.
yeah, I bought it at Ice House from Bruce last year and forgot I bought it for a little while. And yeah, so it's sitting in the shop and it's going in a 50cc Aeroworks. Probably not the best airplane to put it in to start with, but that's what it's going in.
I think we
So
talked about that.
yeah, so that's what it's going in. That is the last airplane I have on Futaba. I don't even have the radio anymore, so it wouldn't even fly right now. Well, no, I've got a 16SZ still sitting out there. So, but it doesn't get used. It just sits around on the countertop looking, like a transmitter. So,
Nice.
but I look forward to trying it and seeing.
Yeah. It's a decent system. Just recently in the last few months, I've been working with some guys that we've deemed the term hyper advanced users. These guys just one gentleman that I was helping out, and still to this day we've become actually pretty good friends. Super big jetty guy, and was super apprehensive about moving over to the system and whatnot. But he's a team pilot rep type guy, and anyways was asked to come to Free Sky, and we discovered a lot. Again, per our conversation before the show, I'm very much like you, where I take the knowledge as far as it is fitting for me. I mean, there's
Yeah,
no need for me to learn how to do some crazy some crazy logical switch or advanced programming for something that I don't need. I mean, it's kind of common sense, right? And so you and I row in that same boat. But this guy, he could tell you anything and everything about Jetty. Just a very, very in the weeds type of guy with his stuff. Within a matter
Yeah.
of 2 weeks of having an X20S in his hands, he was calling me with questions, and I'm just like, I'll find you the answers. I don't know. I'll find you
Yeah.
the answers. Um,
Yeah.
but we discovered a lot about the stabilization system, and again, I've used the stabilization since like first gen, and it's just worked for what I do. I enjoy flying. I can hold my own.
Yeah.
Couldn't really pull a hover over the runway. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
figure eight pattern flyer for me. So the stabilization was always good. It was great for me.
Hmm.
But then talking to these guys that are, quote unquote hyper advanced users, um, there were features that we're still yearning for. Heading hold, stick priority is a big one that a lot of guys have been
Yeah.
asking for. So we've been singing, and hopefully, they're listening, and we get to improve on that stabilization a little more.
Yeah.
So, and then also, I think a big thing that they're working on is streamlining the installation process. There are things that have to be done, and sometimes in a certain fashion, and um, there's been a few people that have kind of overlooked that stuff, and it just kind of leads into other issues, and then it
Yeah.
just messes people up in the head, right? You have this new
Yeah.
transmitter that's super powerful. So for starters, you're beginning to learn it. It's like getting
Hmm.
a new cell phone. But then you have this power that's there. You have all these capabilities, and a lot of users want to just go and do the cool stuff first without, learning to crawl. They just want to get up and
Yeah.
run. And so that's kind of some of the hurdles that we've been dealing with when it comes to the stabilizer. But they have been really good. I mean, they work well. There's no doubt about that. They could be better, and we're crossing our fingers. We're going to get there. So, um, yeah, man.
Yeah. I'm very much like you said. I like to say, keep it simple, stupid. You know.
Right.
Um, yeah. So like when I set up an airplane, it's like for flex or whatever. Like I was saying, I'm gonna have an idle up. I'm gonna have a dual rates or flight mode switch. I'm gonna have an aura kill switch, a flap switch, and a motor kill switch. That's it. I
That's
don't
it.
I don't need any I don't need anything else. The turbines, yes, I use RDTs from Lior. On the turbines, I use his widget. It's great.
Yeah.
Um, and that all comes out of laziness for me because I don't want to lean down and plug a screen into the DRM in my jet.
Well,
You know,
sure.
don't want to
It's
have to do that. I just want it boom right there done.
it's more
So
efficient.
yes.
I mean,
So and
I haven't stepped into the world of turbines, so I don't, a lot of that stuff I don't understand yet. But Lior has contributed to the community so
oh
much.
yeah,
It's awesome. I
yeah,
use a couple of his sensors that he's built, and I thought his battery widget was like the coolest thing since sliced bread.
yeah.
Um, I essentially had a gas gauge on my screen, and no longer
Hmm.
had to unplug an EDF or an electric flyer that I was flying to find out what that
Yep.
battery capacity was. So just some cool stuff. I mean, that's
Yeah.
always been my favorite part about Free Sky was the flexibility, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think the big thing that I like is, like Steve appreciates it too. So like helping people out when I go to an event and you see their eyes get real big when you just showed them something and they're like, I would have never thought of that. And in the gas world, the big one is idle up. It's
right,
huge. There's hundreds of ways to do it, right? And like I show everybody, I'm like, make a flight mode called idle up, set a switch, then go to your trims and do independent trim per flight mode. Now you trim with your trim button for the throttle. And they're like, oh, that's huge. I helped a bunch of guys at our indoor event last week with that, and they were just like blown away that it was that simple, you know. But I've seen guys come in with zero experience with a new radio, and love it. So, I mean, it's ever evolving, I think, too. And unfortunately, I'm not one of the guys that switched to 1.5. So, if you have any questions about 1.5, I don't know. So, it's probably gonna be, I bet, 4 or 5 months before I switch. And just out of it's not broke, don't fix it kind of deal
Right.
for me. So, yeah, I'm good where I'm at right now, but it's coming. I just haven't done it yet. So,
Yeah. On my main transmitter, I'm still running 1417.
yep.
But because of some things we have going on, some testing that we want to do, I think I will probably sometime tonight or here in the very near future take my primary transmitter and bump it up. I've been messing with it on my X18. We had a big that was a heck of a week on the internet. When 1.5 dropped, everybody was super excited. But as with any software update, I mean, I don't care what industry you're in, there's gonna be some bugs. There's gonna be some glitches. There were several combinations of issues that created what seemed to be a much larger issue for these people, and the world was kind of ending. And it was like, oh man, like, let's get this done. Let's get you taken care of. But it was quite a bit of work that week. So a lot of the people that I communicate with on a regular that have made the transition in the last couple of years, I just said, hey, just hold off for a bit, right? And some of these guys were fairly new users, and the way I looked at it, it may not be a popular opinion, but if you don't have a firm understanding of the basics, then really a lot of the new features that 1.5 brought, you're probably not going to mess with. So is it kind of worth the headache? And it's been displayed online, through our ethos page. There's been a lot of people that have been, crossed up and not kind of lost their way. And it just gets very frustrating. So, either way, 1.4, 1.7 solid. 1.5 is, I mean, it's pretty solid as it is. I mean, they wouldn't have released it if it wasn't flight worthy. There was just a few minor bugs that presented issues that looked more severe than what they really were. But then that kind of falls back into, the newer pilot or the newer FreeSky user that really just maybe doesn't quite understand the whole picture yet. So I don't know, man. But we're getting through it. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it was kind of funny too, because what was it, last Thursday? I think that's when I texted you. It was like a Thursday or two ago. I was sitting in my buddy's camper and was like, hey, I just drew a blank. Where's this file at? Right. And so I'm sitting in my buddy's camper. We're messing with his X20S that he'd bought at Ice House, and he just hadn't really used it a whole lot. He was a Radio Master guy. And he's like, hey, well, it shows that, there's 1.5. When is it coming? I was like, well, it's probably going to be any day now. Literally the next day it drops. He comes and finds me. He's like, we've got to update to 1.5. And I was like, no. I was like, we're in the middle of a fly-in right now. Let's get you through that event, and then we'll work on that. And then the event goes on, and he's like, you know what? I think I'm good where I'm at. I'm going to learn this. So, yeah. So he's very avid. Like he was an OpenTX Edge TX guy and picked it up just quick. So, but yeah, it was ironic how I told him, yeah, it's going to be any day now. And then there it is the next day. And I'm in an event, and I've been bombarded by like 4 or 5 guys asking me if they should download 1.5. And I'm like, I can put it on your transmitter for you, but
yeah,
that's your deal this weekend. Right. So yeah.
But, yeah. I don't necessarily, I mean, regardless of 1.5, I don't think I'd update anything on a flying weekend, especially
Mm,
if you have things dialed in and everything's working.
yeah.
Let's just keep the status quo for the time being. Um, we got a few people popping in here. Oh, Ricky Nicole said, "My son." Are you able to see all these comments?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just wondering why Steve is posting on two different pages.
I don't know, Steve. Why are you posting on two different pages? Um, yeah. So we have Steve, FR Sky, Free Sky. Steve. I keep saying FR Sky. Maybe by like the fourth or fifth episode, I'll nail it. But
You
Free
know how
Sky.
many times I get You know how many times I get asked that? Is it FR Sky or is it Free Sky? And I'm like, well, it's Free Sky. And they're like, well, there's no E in it. And I'm like, I don't know.
on our
Just
on
however
our
you want to say it, just say it.
Yeah, right. I mean, I've been
So,
saying FR Sky since I bought the darn transmitter
yeah.
back in the early, 2013. Um, Last episode we had Adam Moz on, and he said that it was back when people were dropping vowels to be cool.
Yeah.
Hence the
That's
Free
funny.
Sky. So, which
That's
yeah,
funny.
sure, whatever, man. Free
Yeah, I just
Sky.
call it Frisky. So, yeah.
Right, I can't wear my nice polo to church because my wife's like, it says frisky on it. That's not appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's
Hey,
funny you talk about shirts. I need to talk to Steve about his shirt because I ordered one and yeah, I may need one size bigger. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
I think a little bird told me that they're honing in on the sizing thing here. So
yeah.
um, I don't know if Steve is still with us. I seen him in the comments, but we have Free Sky Steve in the house. We have Ricky Nicole. What's up? Bruce Carr, my main man. He's up in the house, and then of course Vic from Victor RC Jets. What's up, Vic? So yeah, man. Um, Good stuff. Good stuff. I remember the day that Steve called me, and it was right when he got back from Ice House, and he had nothing but good things to say about you. And then just shortly after that, I talked to Bruce a lot over the phone, and he was telling me how swell of a guy you are, and the good things that you're doing. So
I don't know
it's
about
good.
all that. I think they're lying a little
They're
bit.
lying. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that 91-inch extra I landed upside down just on a whim. That says otherwise. You know. So,
I don't know, man. I don't think I really believe you.
oh yeah, that airplane was upside down as could be.
I'm not
So,
talking about the plane. I'm talking
oh,
about. I think these guys are telling the truth here, man.
yeah, yeah. Hey, I'm willing to help everybody.
I
As
have
long
high
as they're
standards.
willing to learn.
I have high
So,
standards for the show, so
yeah, yeah.
we don't just let anybody on.
Yeah, so don't land airplanes upside down anymore. Got it. Done. Yeah, that
Um,
airplane may or may not have Bruce's band-aids on the canopy right now. I don't know. So, yeah.
I have seen those on the site. Ricky
Yeah.
Nicole says we came in and started immediately with 1.5. Tell us a little bit more. How do you like it?
I think that would be a good thing. I mean, if you're coming in and never used Ethos before, 1.5 is all you know. That's all you know. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
no, that's true.
no
That's true.
reason to go back, right?
I
And learn
mean,
the old when it's just going to progress forward.
it's the updates. They are. I mean, for the longtime users, they're we're calloused, I guess, to it, right?
Yeah.
You reach certain points throughout your time using Free Sky where, like you pointed out, it's working. There's no need to upgrade. There's no need to update firmware. Everything I fly in my fleet is running top notch, no problems.
Yeah.
Then there might reach a point in time where there's a new product out, a new receiver, a new sensor, or something that kind of maybe forces your hand to update. But at that point, usually these systems are running pretty solid. Um,
Yeah.
hey, what's happening, Lance?
Yeah.
Um,
Lance made it in. That's good.
the you know, so I've been pretty callous to the updating stuff. I'm a tinkerer at heart as well, so Yeah, have I been frustrated in the past? Absolutely. Very early on, I had second thoughts. I had some of these
Yeah,
thoughts that I've been hearing out of a few guys, like I'm just, I'm going to get rid of this thing and go back to something else. But
yeah,
um, I'm persistent and I love to tinker. So the challenge is always accepted. Um, that matter of fact, that was one of the biggest, I guess, sales killer for me in the past. I talked to my buddies out at the field, and it's like, hey, you got to check this out. Like, as soon as I do this flyby right now, I'm going to hit the switch, and we're going to get the Top Gun anthem or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Albeit it was really, really cool, and they were jazzed about it. They were just like, nah, there's too much programming, and they're always updating. But um, it
yeah. That's been the big thing. That's been the big thing for me. A really good friend of mine is. I give him crap all the time because he's got, let's see, an IX20S or IX20. He's got a 18SZ from Futaba, a JR11X, an X20S. What else has he got? Oh, and an NX10SE. So he's got 5 radios, right? If he takes his Mamba 70 out, he's taking Futaba. If he's taking Spectrum stuff out, he's taking his IX20. You know, so I'm trying to get him over to one deal, but his big thing is, and Steve probably knows about this, but the radio is X amount, right? The price point is where it's at.
Mhm.
He has a hard time trusting it because of the price point. And the same thing, like you were saying, well, isn't it riddled with updates, or is it just hard to program, or any of that? So I actually sat down with him one day, like sat on his sofa, and I programmed his smooth flight for him, got his brake controller working, all of that, ready to go into the jet. And then he couldn't believe all of the other things that he could have with it.
Right.
And his immediate deal was, oh, I thought it was just the voices. I thought it was just the cool voices, or being able to cuss at your buddy when he's standing next to you from the radio, you know? So
No.
no, I get where you're coming from, but it's funny that we talk about that as a selling point, but then there's all this other stuff that the radio will do. It's just, yeah. In fact, Lance texts me, and he's, I think, more of an advanced user than I am because I like to keep things simple. And he's diving into stuff that, I'm like, I never thought of that, and so, yeah,
Well, I think
I don't know how to explain selling the radio anymore because it's the best thing that I can do is like Steve did at Ice House. Hand the guy a transmitter, bind a receiver to it, stick it in an airplane, go fly it. Have a good day.
right.
Because that's going to sell it 100%.
Yeah,
And I
it's
don't know
definitely
of any manufacturers that do that. So
yeah, it's and I can't think of any either. I mean, I'm not just saying this because I'm a big fan of Free Sky, but I think it's a fact that they've made some pretty huge advancements in the RC industry just in the last year
yeah,
alone. And I don't think there's a lot of companies progressing as fast as they are, but
mm-hmm.
that comes with a lot of other things. Um, uh, Ricky Nicole mentioned, if you can think it, this radio can do it. And that's one of the things that I used to say back in the day, especially to my buddies, like, hey, this radio right here, although it only cost me like $1.25, will outdo your radio. And I'm not going to mention the brands, but you could guess
Mm-hmm.
it. It'll outdo that radio. And I would joke
Yeah,
around. Sometimes I'm full of BS, but I
yeah,
tell them, hey, when I hit my gear switch, it's going to send a message over to my phone and have my Starbucks order ready by the time I get there. And
yeah.
of course, that would be the ultimate response, right? They'd
That's
laugh
funny.
and you're full of BS and this and that, and it's like, no, that's a joke, but quite literally, it could probably be something that's pretty feasible to do, given the right the
Yeah,
right person with the right background and writing some scripts and knowing the programming and stuff like that. But nail on the head, Ricky. If you can think it, you can do it. If it's logical, you can make it happen. Um,
yeah.
I think
And
a lot of the people that I've helped in the last year, were with, radio brand X. And we've already
Hmm.
discussed that there's a lot of good radio brands out there. There really are. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them have been around for quite some time. What happens is I'm finding that a lot of these pilots, it isn't because the transmitter let them down, it's because they've reached this ceiling, you know.
Hmm.
Ease of use is a big thing, right? But with ease of use comes limitations. And
Yes.
now all of a sudden, these guys aren't beginner pilots anymore. They've moved up the ranks and now they want to fly something a little more complex. Well,
Hmm.
radio brand X won't allow you to do some logical mixing. They won't let you do certain things to get this more complex aircraft in the air without spending or selling your firstborn.
Yeah.
So they go exploring, and here I find them on the doorstep, and they're pretty much sold. And like you mentioned, there's not much more that you can say or do other than give somebody a radio because they're selling
Yeah.
themselves at this point.
Yeah. I
So
mean, and I think the big thing too is like, this is going to Ricky as well. Like, ethos is in its infancy. Well, I'd say it's more of a toddler now, but it's getting better and better and better as days go on, as people use it. Um, I was one of those guys you just mentioned. I've flown every radio brand that's out there, minus high tech and a couple others. But and I never got to the point where, oh, the radio won't do this. It was a comfortability thing for me. Like, it's you know, um, I mean, I needed this to do this, and it just wouldn't do it. So found myself into Free Sky, and here I am. Then it's funny because now all these guys that I've known for years and flown with and gone to events with for years are like coming out of the weeds. They're like, secret members, society members that, they're like, hey, I fly Free Sky too. It's like, well, you could have told me that before I bought one, and we could have learned together. But it was almost they were ashamed to say it. And yeah, I never had a problem with functionality, with signal, anything with any of the other radios. You know, that was not the reason I switched
yeah,
for anything. I mean, I would go take X brand and put it in an airplane today and go fly it. The reason being is because I know how to set them up. I know how to set the receivers in the airplane. I know what orientations they need to be in, which is huge.
well, that's a big.
Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a big part of it.
mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I
um,
mean, 99% of aircraft failures, they go in and people blame a transmitter. It's 99% of the time it's set up. If it's a true signal loss, if it's a true, whatever, out of their hands, it's typically a setup problem,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
So,
and again, like I said, a lot of these people, there wasn't anything necessarily wrong with brand X. It's just they kind of
mhm.
hit that ceiling. You know,
Yeah.
um, but that's funny. I mean, I could totally relate to your buddies. That you said were coming out of the woodwork. 5 6 years ago. Um, Regardless of what people say, I mean, this is a great hobby. Don't get me wrong. It's a great
Yeah.
community, the RC hobby as a whole, or the RC community as a whole. Um, but you do have your clicks, you know,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
and spin those however you want to spin it. But there are, and so I feel for those guys because for the longest time, if it was not my close buddies that I was flying with, people's demeanors would kind of change a little bit. And I know this sounds really ridiculous, but it's true. Their demeanors would kind of change a little bit once they found out, oh, you're flying free sky.
Yeah.
Okay. Or
That was the
like
exact reaction I got.
yeah, like come talk to us when you have a real radio,
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
knowing that yeah, you had the biggest knife in the room.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I hear that, but I think those tides are changing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's funny, man. That's funny that you mentioned that.
Well, and I could tell you this. So, like, my buddy Bill he was in the shop with me the day that I was on the phone with Steve that Sunday afternoon, working on his Mamba 70. And, I'm hinging an airplane. I've got a high saw gun in the hand, sitting there gluing hinges, talking to Steve. And um, we get off the phone with him, and Bill's like, well, what are you going to put this in? What's the first airplane you're going to put FrSky in? I was like, I'm thinking that 70cc extra in there. It's been in the dirt 3 times. Let's send it again. And
Yeah.
so I stuck a TDR-18 in it, went to the field with it. And, granted, this airplane's 6 years old. Lots and lots of hard flights. And I get to the field and the guys out there are really apprehensive. They're like, you shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. It's like, I'm going to do a range check and it's going in the air. What happens after that is not on me. So, yeah, it was funny because that was the exact reaction that they had was, this isn't a good idea. And I'm like, I think it's going to be fine, And, yeah, the first time that I took it till it was about the size of a quarter horizontally away from me, and I was like, yeah, it's good. So, yeah, just been beating on it ever since. Unfortunately, it sits in the shop more than it gets flown now, but that's
Maybe it needs the rest.
Well, what it needs is some parts that I just haven't ordered since October. So, I mean, we glued the rudder back on that airplane at Ice House. We bought glue and ball ends from Bruce and literally glued that rudder back on right then and there and had we were going to send it until it was no more at that event, and I couldn't find a prop. So,
Yeah, dude.
yeah.
We could definitely hang out.
I was like,
I'm starting to feel your style here.
Steve is saying, "Oh, that plane." The bad thing is, they're doing, what is it? Lowest inverted pass is what it was. There's an RV-870 in the air, and the guy's flying next to me, and he says, "Oh, I touched." And I said, "Okay." Yeah, I drug the whole top of the rudder and landed it upside down, center show. And my wife is 20 foot away from me yelling lower. So
that's a good woman right there.
yeah, that she is. But yeah, it was it was pretty funny. I mean, of course, the look on Steve's face was priceless. I turned around and Steve's just like kind of got his hands in the air, like, what? And I'm over there laughing. So yeah, it's a great airplane. I mean, and that was the first flight in like 6 months on it.
Awesome.
And I just go and break it, but yeah.
Yeah, man. You made mention on it where guys, kind of have reservations about either flying with FrSky or even being around the presence of people flying on the system. It was a lot of that came strictly based off the price point.
Exactly.
I mean,
100%.
Dude, the first radio I bought, like I said, was $125. And it was, we had an older guy at our field who flew some Futaba, I don't know, Galaxy 5000. I don't know the Futaba brand. And it was an awesome radio. He paid like $3,000 for it. Told me the whole story about how his wife let him work a bunch of overtime overseas, and he was able to buy this radio and this and that. So, in his eyes, my radio was inferior. But again, at the time, knowing what I know now, my radio then still held its own with that Futaba, if not exceeded it by a few different factors there. But anyways, it's not about Futaba or FrSky, but the price point, is what really just kept people from turning their heads too hard.
Yeah.
But there you go. I mean, that if it wasn't for the price point, I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing in the RC hobby that I am today. And on a personal level, I'm not talking about these shows or being a field rep or anything like that. Essentially, I mean, apparently all that stuff ties together, but I wouldn't be here doing this, right? Because of the time of my life that I was in. So I've always, a lot of people, not just me, but a lot of people have been very fond of the fact that we're not paying, $2,400 for the biggest knife in the room, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they're pretty cool.
I mean, that's a big selling point. Like when I talk to guys about the radio, the number one thing that I tell them about isn't the features. Well, I guess it is a feature, but it's not necessarily the programming features. But the big thing is you buy a tandem transmitter, you're using tandem receivers, right? That's what it's made for.
Right.
Yes, it will do access. It'll do ACCST. Great. Tandem is where you're bang for the buck's at, especially in today's time. We're in such a highly saturated 2.4 environment. You've got to have some kind of backup, right? And even on Futaba, I flow 2 receivers, $320 per 70cc airplane is what it cost me to fly with Futaba, because that's what their receivers cost. But yeah, like I tell everybody, is the price point's great. You're getting dual frequency, which is huge. You've got a backup to rely on, right? But the other thing too is I'm like, they'll ask me, well, is it simple to program? Is it hard to program? And if you want simple, you go with X brand. If you want something that's not as simple, but it'll do 10 times as X brand, this is what you want. It's a feel thing. And for me, it's a peace of mind thing. The 2.4 and 900 for me is huge. Steve and I had that talk, and I said, Steve, what's it like when it switches to 900? And he's like, I don't know. I've never had one switch. So, yeah. I'm not going to lie, I have had my Mamba 120 tell me RSSI low. It did it once on Sunday, but I was also looking directly at the airplane right at me. I mean, it's dead line with the receiver antennas. So I didn't even think about it. Went about my day. And, my buddy's over here like, hey, you should be worried about that. I said, no, I've got 900. I'm good. We're just going to keep letting her eat. So yeah, like you said, you've got the biggest knife in the room, quite literally. Can I make it the biggest knife in the room? Yeah, sure. If I spend the next 6 months learning every aspect of the transmitter, but everybody's different. And I bought the transmitter to do just this little section. And so far it's been flawless. It's worked great. It's the reason I've bought 3 of them. I actually sold my first X20S the other day to a good friend of mine. He was actually on the RC Scrap Pile podcast. He was Casey on the Scrap Pile. Bought my X20S from me. So now I'm down to 2, but I'm not getting rid of another one. Sorry. Call Bruce.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I tend to hold on to weird things like that. Like I still have my QX7. I still have my X10 horse, which realistically I'll probably never ever use those radios again.
I sold my QX7S a long time ago. I couldn't wait to get rid of it. I was like, go, get away from me.
Really? Oh, so you were messing with Free Sky longer.
Yeah, a long time ago. I had a blue QX7S that had, it was when the race gimbals came out, because I bought race gimbals and put race gimbals in them. Okay. I thought I wanted to be a drone guy. And then I found out hitting poles with a race quad at 70 mile an hour hurts. So
at Mach 2.
Yeah. There's actually on my YouTube channel, there's a funny video of me hitting one right outside my house. It was awesome. I wish that the sound was there, because it was, first flight of the quad. It dented a motor bell and I never flew it again. So, but that was actually, now that I think about it, I did my first Lewis scripts on a QX7S, which I did. I think it was the Beta Flight one. I want to say I did Beta Flight, and there was another one. I don't remember what the other one was though. It was for the goggles. I think it was like a rapid fire one maybe. But
yeah, I never really got into the quadcopters. I think Lance is taking off. See you later, Lance. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Yeah, later, Lance. Text me later, bud.
Kind of lost my train of thought there for a second, but yeah, it's again, play on that what you said. You're here for for your reasons, to get what you want accomplished and stuff like that, which is admirable. I mean, again, kind of the same way. but inadvertently, I think you've become an important segment to the community. And I'm sure there's other guys out there that mess with Free Sky,
Oh yeah,
and the Aura systems from Flex Innovation. I'm sure there's people
yeah,
out there. I mean, you
yeah. I
discussed
mean,
several of them.
yeah. My buddy Matt Sybeck. Like, so if I can't figure out something with an Aura, he's my guy.
Yeah.
He's a Team Flex Innovations pilot. He's my guy, and he flies Free Sky. So, um, if you need help, reach out to either one of us. I mean, that's what we're there for. Um, but just know my resources are very limited to I can set up simple mixes, and yeah, I can help with a lot of other things as well, but it's going to take me a little bit. So don't get on to me too bad.
No, 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 that's good. I mean, you know, I guess the only way I can describe it is I completely understand what you're saying, because just until this last year when I started dealing with these hyper advanced users, as we're calling them,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
it's really not. People appreciate the fact that you can get answers as opposed to just having them. Right. It's
Yeah.
obviously it's convenient if you could just pop off and say, "Oh yeah, it's this, this, and this." But if you're just up front with them and say, "Hey, look, this is kind of really all I've been into, but I have resources. Give me, an hour, give me a day, or whatever the case." People really resonate with that well. So, but nonetheless, I mean, I think you've become again an important segment um, to the Free Sky community, just based off the experience that you have with the Flex Innovation stuff. So, and again, you're surrounded with people that are
Hmm.
in the same boat. So you've become an awesome resource for people. So, and that one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you on the show tonight, is to let the masses know, so to speak. So maybe
Yeah. And
put that.
I mean, the Aura is great for what it is. I'll go ahead and tell you right now that all of my other airplanes that are not Flex Innovations do not have Auras in them. I'll just go ahead and tell you that right now. Um, I don't have the time to program one from scratch. Um, Not that I can't do it. I just want to go fly. I want to go fly the airplane, right? So I'm gonna put it together. It's gonna look nice when it's done, and I'm gonna go fly it. Whether it's got an aura in it or not. So yeah, I mean, and I've seen too, like, if I'll just go ahead and tell everybody that's here, like, if you call or I send you my number on Messenger, right? Don't hesitate to call. Just call me, text me, right? That's what I'm there for. Um, don't get upset if I ask you to re-verify steps on the airplane. I haven't had anybody do it, but I could see where it could be a touchy subject. Some people are very proud of what they do, so they could think, "Oh yeah, well, I'm not going to redo it. I've already done it." Right? There's a method to the madness, right? I'm very big for um, mechanical setup. Mechanical setup is huge, huge with flight stabilization. If you have poor mechanical setup, the flight stabilization is not going to work as well. But that being said, I think I did I think it was an RV860. I think that Steve sent me to program at Ice House, and I think I programmed one of those from start to finish in about 30 minutes. That was including centering servos, mechanical setup, and aura setup done, and in the time it took them to charge the battery. So yeah, if you think it's a huge daunting task or you're scared of it, just message me. I'm on Facebook. I'll be glad to help. That's what I'm there for. So yeah, and any other questions that you guys have, just get a hold of me. That's what I'm here for. So
Nice.
I promise I don't bite.
Be careful what you wish for. Be
Yeah,
careful
hey,
what you wish for.
hey, I mean, if they're needing help, legitimately they want help, or even if they just want to BS, hit me up. Like, I talk RC all day long. I don't care. I've been doing it since 2002. So yeah,
Nice. Well, you guys heard it here first. If you guys need any help, hit up Josh.
yeah,
He's readily available. We did post a link to his Facebook page in the description below, so check that out.
yep,
And guys, if you've enjoyed this so far, give me a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be doing these shows probably monthly. Josh and I were discussing it. I don't really have a format for the show right now. I'm kind of just trying to get a hold of people that either I find interesting and or are somewhat of an asset, a resource, so to speak, to the Free Sky community.
Mm-hmm.
I will have other shows that really aren't Free Sky related, but anyways, I got a message from Bruce right now. Bruce is wanting to do a little giveaway. This is one of the snazzy hats that Bruce carries at A&ERC Products. It's a very comfortable hat. It looks really nice. You might be able to pull it off taking it out to dinner with your wife, but test those waters on your own. Let's see. Bruce's instructions for the giveaway. So listen up. The first person to go to A&ERC Products Facebook page and give a shout out on the show's post, I will instant message them and get shipping address. So good luck, gentlemen, ladies, if there are any in the crowd. Let's see. We have Sean Rollins up in the house. Sean is a good buddy of mine that I met through the community, through the RC community. He used to live a little bit north of me, and I'd get together with those guys from time to time. Unfortunately for me, Sean, as well as our good buddy Rick, they were part of the mass exodus of California, and now live in the great state of Texas. So what's up, Sean? And Sean isn't
Hey,
even
at least they didn't. Yeah, at least they didn't move to Austin.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I forget. I think Sean lives. Sean, comment, where do you live? He says, Josh, tell Dan he has to come to BYOP.
yeah, it's an event that they're having up in Abernathy. Bring your own plane is what they call it. So
Okay.
it'll be my first year going this year. So I'm trying a couple of new events, and that's the one I'm making. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Sean's going to be over. Yeah, Sean lives in Lubbock.
Yep.
But I'm assuming because he's telling me to come out to BYOP, I got confused because I usually see a B there. That he's going to be there as well. So Sean's a good dude. Yeah. So maybe we'll hear from Bruce here if we have a winner or not. But let me ask you something, man. When you get approached by somebody who is considering coming over to the system, what do you tell them? Or do you ask them? How's that go?
Man, that's a tough one. But I mean, I typically ask what their needs are. I mean, it's hard to get people in the giant scale scene, as I like to call it. That's mainly what I'm a part of. It's hard to get those guys to switch. Main reason is because they have all these airplanes that they now have to switch over. It takes a long time. I did it. I know. It was a very painstaking couple of months doing it. But I learned a lot. So yeah, I asked what their needs are. I mean, a lot of the guys' needs are the same as mine. They just want a little bit of peace of mind and redundancy, and they want it to work. So yeah. But yeah, I can see I'm gonna have to have the wife turn the porch light on. It's getting dark outside.
It is. It's we've had a good run. We've had a good run on the show. I want to thank you for taking the time to do this, man. I know the last couple of times we've chatted over text and stuff, you were pretty busy. Watching a lot of Supercross. I dig the Supercross myself, man.
Yeah. We actually we went to the Arlington Supercross, went and watched it. That was good. Unfortunately, we were sitting right in front of the bad wreck that happened with Austin Faulkner, but
oh wow,
we got to see that live. It was pretty rough, but it was rough because we were literally standing there in the pits, like right there in front of him the whole time, you know. And now the dudes, I think L1 and L3 vertebrae broke and his scapula's broke. So
I seen a video clip of that.
Rough.
It was pretty nasty.
Yeah, it was a nasty crash, and we knew something was going to happen eventually. Right there, it was such a tough rhythm lane. But yeah, but yeah, we watch that like religiously. So if anybody calls me on a Saturday after about 6 o'clock, I'm probably not going to answer.
Hey,
So I'm
fair enough.
glued to the TV. But
Fair enough.
but yeah, I mean, so yeah, I have other hobbies outside of RC hobby, but yeah, that's just one of them, I guess. In fact, it's tough now because we found out the super motocross second race is in, what was it, Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth. Unfortunately, it's the weekend of Chopper Madness in Abilene. So flying that I go to every weekend. So it's like, I don't know. What do I go to? Yep. Oh, there we go. Look at that. We got lights now. So
She's a keeper. She tells you to go
yeah.
lower and she turns the light on for you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, I could say bad things about that, but yeah, it's kind of like the motel. What is that? Super 8, Motel 6. We keep the lights on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
Motel 6.
yeah, but yeah, but no, I
Right
mean,
on, man.
I mean, I love the Free Sky stuff and promote it every chance I can. Try
Yeah.
to help Bruce out as much as I can. I mean, I've bought 3 radios from Bruce, so
I mean, it was people that are watching are probably going to hear this. If I ever make it to the 100th episode, then I can say they'll hear it 100 times. But I was connected with Bruce through Free Sky, and he has just been the most upstanding person I've ever dealt with that runs
yeah.
a business. And there's a lot of people out there that run good businesses. I'm not saying anything bad about them, but just a solid dude. And again, I've always been a promoter of the small time hobby shops, the small town mom and pop shops in
Yes.
general. I think that's so important. I'm actually
Oh yeah.
trying to get a guy that I know through the hobby onto the show. He's not a Free Sky user, but he's one of the best builders that I've ever seen. He actually gave me a lot of inspiration, and the guy actually had some ideas on a documentary, outlining and documenting the RC hobby and kind of all the phases that it's gone through and how the
Yeah.
internet killed a lot of these small, brick and mortars. Um, and they just they didn't just take away the sales for these people to make a livelihood. They took away a lot of um, experience and firsthand knowledge, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, super cool stuff. Going back to Bruce being that guy, the mobile hobby shop,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody that I've talked to that knows Bruce or has dealt with Bruce has nothing bad to say. So,
Yeah, I need to
and
try to get Bruce out to our outdoor event here in San Angelo that I put on every year. Last year
I
was last year was the first year of the name change, but we're heading in the right direction. It's going to be a big event, and maybe one day it'll outgrow where it's at, and we're going to have to find a bigger venue for it. So, yeah,
man, the scene is so much different outside of California. It bums me out, and I think my ex California homies, Sean and Rick, can probably speak to that a little bit more. We have some really nice flying fields around here, and we have
mm-hmm.
a few of the biggest events, like on the West Coast and whatnot. Best in the West Jets,
Yeah,
and then there's another epic turbine event, Jets Over California. That's not too far from me, but for as much flat land as we have out here, there are very, very few airfields, and it just
yeah,
sucks because you see all these guys posting from back east, the Midwest, down south, and through Texas, and you guys probably have 20 airfields within 100 miles. You know,
yeah,
that was a shot from the hip.
yeah.
But I
Well,
mean,
it's depending on where you're at. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm kind of envious of all that. But Bruce is asking you, when is it? When is your
So
event that you want to talk
it's
to?
let me look at the calendar. It's my event, and I can't even remember the dates because we haven't made a flyer yet. Let's see.
You have people to handle that for you.
Yeah. Actually, Wayne, my buddy that I gave the RV8 to. Yeah, Mister Wagner, or Burger as we call him. Yeah. Let's see. So it's going to be October 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Um, the 10th is a Thursday. That's just going to be kind of like a friends day, have fun, whatever. Then the 11th and 12th and 13th are going to be the big days of the event. You can't miss it. The event's called WTF, as Sean has said. Yes. So yeah. I think last year we had 51 pilots. I think
Oh
for
wow.
the first year of the name change. Um, yeah, I think we had 300 CCs in the air at one time last year. At one point, and we were all hovering right next to each other on the runway, and everybody's just freaking out. Never seen anything like it before, and yeah, I think it's gonna be a good event, and it's not just a null in the fall. Yeah, but that's not the big null though. You can make that, Bruce.
Uh-oh.
Um,
Uh-oh.
yeah. Uh, but like I want to reiterate though, the WTF event is not a giant scale event. It's for everybody. Um,
Nice.
we're trying to bring some guys in this year. We'll see. There may be some name drops coming. We'll see. It's in the works still, but we're just gonna keep making it bigger and better than ever. Let's put it this way: we have a rolling like tumbler that's probably, I don't know, 18 inches around and probably 2.5 foot long or so. We filled it with raffle tickets in one day to the point of where you couldn't roll it and the tickets move. So
That's pretty
yeah,
good.
we sold all those tickets on a Saturday. We're gonna try to outdo that this year, but
So what do you think? I mean, now my wheels are spinning with events. Um,
mm-hmm.
what do you think were the biggest factors to make that event so popular? Has it been long?
Man,
Has it been long
just
running?
yeah. So man, you had to say that. Let me see. Okay,
uh,
so yeah, so the event itself used to be called the Angelo RC Fun Fly. That was the name. Which I still advertise it as that in the AMA magazine. But for everybody else in the Facebook land, it's WTF. Um, but I think last year was 43rd, I think, 43rd
oh,
year.
okay. Okay, yeah. Well
Um,
established.
yeah, so it was a very established event. But what we did notice last year was an influx of new guys coming in. Not new to the hobby, but pilots that don't normally come to that event.
That's a good
Um,
thing, right?
yeah, and I think a lot of it stemmed from advertising on Facebook, getting it out there, um, and going to all these events, like Sean's saying here, the brotherhood out here. So there's about 9 families, I guess there is now, that I run around with and go to events all year long with. Like we just got done with our indoor event. There was like 6 or 7 campers outside that are all of us that go to events all year. Then not this weekend, but next we'll be going to Odessa. There's an event there that I'll be at. Skinner's is in between that. Skinner's is a huge event. I think it's called Fly the River now. It's kind of a play on the Rona, I guess. Because so that event was kind of funny. It started when there was all the mass shutdowns and no fly-ins were happening, and they were basically like, "Yeah, screw y'all, we're gonna have an event." And it was
Right.
like a invite only type event. Now it's grown into this huge event that's very very awesome event with one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But yeah, we go to like I think let's see in my notes I can tell you how many events I've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 8 events right now on the calendar for this year. Later this year, like when it hits mid-September, it's going to be like every 2 weeks. It'll be an event.
Wow.
So
Good for you,
it's a
man.
lot different atmosphere out here. And we want to make Null. We'd really like to make Null next year, but it's that's a big if.
Yeah, it's a big trek.
Yeah, and I mean pulling a camper and all that. It's a big trek financially too.
Call Bruce. Bruce will give you some tips. Bruce makes the trek every year, twice every
that
year.
3/4 ton outside. That diesel outside's thirsty. So,
oh yeah, you ain't got to tell me about thirsty diesels, brother. I live in California.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What's the price of diesel over there?
I went to one of the higher end gas stations this morning to fill up a piece of equipment, and I think it was $5.99.
Oh, thank God! It makes me feel so much better about myself.
Right?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go need a drink right now.
Yeah. So
I mean, I can get it right. We can get it right now for about. I think the cheapest place in town is about $4.25, which is still up there, but it's the best we got.
Bruce said 8 miles to the gallon. Bruce, I get like 10 pulling the camper, but I'm running 75. So, yeah. No, I get it. We used to travel in a motorhome. It was a '93 Ford Dutchman, and we pulled a 6x12 enclosed trailer behind it, and I got about 7, I think, running 75, just floating down the road. So,
do you have any kids?
1, 11-year-old daughter.
And does she fly? Is your wife? I mean, I know your wife travels with you. Is she into RC or anything, or just
no, not at all. I've tried. She doesn't want any part of it.
Right.
Now the daughter, on the other hand, she won the kids prize in the raffle at Ice House, so she got a Ready to Fly apprentice.
Oh, nice.
So so she's gonna be so she's gonna be flying it if I can ever get it out of the box. I kind of got jet fever again right now, and I need to get a jet done. But I actually bought her a transmitter. Unfortunately, it's like sacrilege, but I did from a buddy of mine. He was selling one. It was cheap enough to where I was like, yeah, okay, I'll put one back in the shop.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, so and I figured, for her or to be able to buddy box friends, that come out, it's gonna be perfect, really.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not handing them, my $1,000 Pro or my X20S, they've got a lighter transmitter that essentially I don't really care about. So
yeah.
But
going way back into our conversation, like there's a purpose for all those transmitters, and it's not because they're POSs. It's just they reach their limitations. So I mean, if that gets your daughter flying, more power.
Yeah, man. And I mean, we'll see if she sticks with it. I mean, she's at that age right now where she's like inside of a pinball machine.
Oh yeah.
So it's just one thing after another. But hey, she wants to try it. She wants to try it. Let's get her done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd even thought about it. I've still got my first trainer. I still have my Hobby Lobby Telemaster from a long time ago, and nice. I would probably put glow back in it because I have glow stuff still. I'd probably rob something and stick glow back in it. But then she won this, and I said, "This is way better." That Telemaster can sit there. So
yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if she does. But I think the big thing though is like going to events and everything. The wife got into photography, so I wound up buying her a camera and all that. So, in fact, I'm fixing to have to buy her a lens. That's not going to be fun, but yeah, whatever keeps her happy.
Sorry, man. I just got a message from my neighbor. He's at my door, and I'm the only one home, so he's gonna have to wait for a minute. Yeah, no, it's all good. Well, man.
I live out in the middle of nowhere, so I don't really see neighbors.
Yeah, lucky. I grew up in the country. Closest neighbor I think was about 1.5 miles down the road, but spent most of my adulthood here in town, which I'm just accustomed to it now. I can't say that I absolutely love it, but there's something about checking your mail in the underwear. It does a lot. It does a lot for you.
Yeah, I think I think the big one for me is like I can see the neighbors' houses, but if I want to go take a leak off the front porch in the morning, I can.
Right.
Don't care.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah. No,
that
there's,
was huge for me.
yeah, country living, and nothing really beats it. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
well, dude, I think we'll wrap it up. I think we've covered quite a bit, man. I really appreciate, really appreciate you taking the time and coming on. Everything I've heard about you was good. And so it was a no-brainer to try to have you on and get you to expose yourself to the masses a little more, let them know what you do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, we're gonna stay in touch, obviously, and maybe we can do this again sometime soon.
Yeah. I mean, just hit me up. I'm available. So
Right on, right on. I want to thank everybody who popped in tonight. I think tonight we've had the most viewers compared to episode 1, which is awesome. Trying to take the internet, YouTube, by storm. That's what I want to do. I want to be YouTube king. No, I'm just kidding. I for the longest time wanted to do this some sort of live stream, but doesn't matter to me either way. Just like talking to cool people, getting pertinent information out with the things that I'm interested in and that you're interested in, and helping communities any way we can. Speaking of helping out the community, ANERC products, that guy helps out the community because he keeps your addiction alive and well with the RC hobby. So visit Bruce, ANERC products. You might be able to still use that code right there on your screen for just a little while longer. It's a good little discount from Bruce. So get in there, get your Free Sky gear in order and in your basket. And I didn't really hear from him. Hopefully, we drew a winner for one of these nice ANERC products hats. So, again, Josh, thank you.
yeah, of
And
course.
keep in touch, and we'll see everybody soon.
Heck yeah.